YouTube. So my name is Jackie, and this is my very first PLL theory video. The theory that I'm going to be discussing today is one that I've been working on for a little while. I think that Toby and Bethany Young are twins, that Marion Kavanaugh, Toby's mother, and Jessica DeLaurentis, Allison's mother, were sisters or were related in some way, and that Bethany is alive and is Big A, or Uber A, or whatever you want to call it. So I definitely think that Bethany is somebody's twin because, well, first of all, we have no idea what Bethany looks like other than she is presumably blonde since she was mistaken for Allison. And that seems kind of suspicious to me because then it would be a safe assumption that that means she resembles someone on the show. Because if she was just some random blonde girl, why haven't we seen a picture of her or something like that? We really have no idea what Bethany looks like, except we think she's blonde, probably has blue eyes. That's really all we know. I think someone asked Marlene King on Twitter if Bethany was someone's twin, and Marlene just replied, wait and see, wait for it, and that kind of seems like a confirmation to me. Maybe she's being mysterious, but I think that definitely means it's a possibility. And if Bethany is somebody's twin, well then she has to be Toby's because Bethany was 16 when she died. I'm going to talk later about how I think she's still alive, but if the girls were only 15 at that time, so that means that if Bethany is someone's twin, she has to be Toby's because Toby was about 17 that night, and everyone else in the show is either too young or too old to be Bethany's twin. I know some people think that maybe she's Allison's twin, but I think that would be really impossible because if Bethany and Allison were twins who were separated, that means someone would have to lie about one of their ages. And I mean, if you tried to pass off like a 2-year-old as a newborn or a newborn as a 2-year-old, I think people would be kind of like, would realize that they weren't actually that age you were claiming they would be. So I don't think that's possible. It's a crazy theory, and I mean, I love crazy theories, but I just really don't think that's plausible. And also, the twins don't have to be identical, so they could be a boy and a girl. All we know is that someone has a twin sister. It doesn't mean, one of the girls has an identical twin. It just means somebody has a twin sister. So they can be fraternal boy-girl, or they could be, identical girls or fraternal girls. We just know they can't be boy-boy twins because the twin is a sister. Now, I think that perhaps Bethany struggled with mental illness all of her life, ever since she was a very small child. And then, maybe when she was a little girl, her mental illness caused her to act violently, and one time she tried to hurt her twin brother, Toby, while they were still very little kids. And so then Jessica DeLaurentis, who is, I'm going to assume, Marion's estranged sister, and I'll explain a little bit more on why I think that later. And so I think that maybe Jessica convinced the Kavanaughs that Bethany was dangerous and that they had to send her away because Jessica hated Marion for some reason. Whatever that reason may be. Maybe Jessica was just loved to start trouble, maybe she had issues, or we know that Jessica was sleeping with Bethany's father, so maybe that's why Jessica hated Marion. And because Marion loved her daughter, Jessica decided that she was going to convince the Kavanaughs they had to send Bethany away, which they reluctantly agreed to do, thinking that would be best for their other child, and that's what they had to do to keep their kids safe. I always thought that Bethany Young was a fake name. It just sounded so fake to me. So I thought maybe the last name Young came because in order for her to be related to someone on the show, they would have had to send her away while she was very little, so that people wouldn't remember this girl. If they sent Bethany away while she was very young, it could be possible that even Toby doesn't remember having a twin. Like, if they were 2 or 3, maybe he'll have vague memories of a girl, but he probably wouldn't remember her specifically as his twin, maybe he'd have a vague memory of playing with this little blonde girl when he was a kid, but his family could have lied to him and say, well, that wasn't your sister, or you had a sister and she died. We don't want to talk about it because it'll upset your mother or something, maybe. You know what I mean? And then the first name, Bethany. The first thing I thought of was, I don't know if you know the biblical story, where Jesus brings Lazarus, a dead man, back to life in a town called Bethany. I thought maybe that could be symbolic of Bethany, Bethany, being sent away and starting anew, having a new life. And then when I did some more research, according to Wikipedia, Bethany, the biblical location, is also associated with the healing of the sick and caring for the poor, which would also apply to Bethany if she had a mental illness and was being sent away to receive treatment. And then we saw in the Christmas episode that Jessica De Laurentiis was buying presents for another little girl, and she told little Allison, "You can't tell your daddy or else he's going to leave us," and got Allison to lie and say there was not another dress. I know this is pointing at Allison having a twin, but I thought that maybe if Jessica and Daniel Kavanagh, Toby's father and Marion's husband, were sleeping together at this point, perhaps Jessica was buying Bethany these things, nice gifts that are the same thing she's giving her own daughter. She could convince Daniel, I care about Bethany too and I want what's best for her. That's why I'm sending her these things. Because she wanted to continue their affair. And that would make sense why Jessica would tell Allison, "You can't tell Daddy or he's going to leave us," because Jessica's already screwed around with Peter Hastings by this point. She cannot have her husband finding out that she's cheating on him, or else he's going to leave her, and she can't have that. Then, fast forward several years, I think Toby's about 13 and Allison's about 12 or something. I don't know exactly how old they are, but in that flashback where Marion walks in on Toby and Allison together in his room about to kiss. Now, if Allison was Toby's cousin, and it was Jessica who convinced the Kavanaghs to send Bethany away, perhaps seeing the two of them together would have made Marion, who was already feeling so guilty, just push over the edge. And maybe Marion decided, after seeing Allison and thinking about what Jessica had done to her daughter, that she had to fake a mental illness and get committed to Radley so she could see Bethany and make sure that Bethany was okay. And then when Jessica finds out that Allison tried to kiss Toby, she's horrified because, Toby's Allison's cousin, if this is true. And so Jessica tells Allison what happened. And this is what inspires Allison's twin story that she tells to the kid Hannah is babysitting in the first secret. I know we've always kind of accepted that story was about two female twins, but we don't know that for sure. I mean, Allison lies all the time. Altering a story to make it about two little girls, is nothing for Allison, who lies like she breathes. Alright, and then Jessica gets on the board at Radley Sanitarium because she needs to keep an eye on Marion and Bethany and make sure that her plan doesn't fall through. Now, Marion and Bethany get the chance to bond while they're both at Radley together, and Marion tells Bethany the truth. She tells her all about her family and tells her how much she loves her, and the two of them grow really close. Now, the feud between Jessica and Marion is still going on, which, let's just say that feud is because Jessica's sleeping with Daniel. And so then one night, Jessica, Marion, and Bethany are all on the roof together, and Jessica pushes Marion to her death in front of Bethany. Now, Bethany has watched her aunt kill her mother. She is traumatized and so upset, and she hates Jessica more than she already did. Because, first of all, her mother tells her that it was Jessica who got her sent away. And now she's watched Jessica kill Marion, who is her mother, who she loves so much. It's the only family she's ever had. And so Jessica tries to bribe Bethany into silence. We know that Jessica took Bethany to the stables and got her a horse. And so Jessica wants Bethany to not tell anyone that she is the one who murdered Marion. She wants to be able to get away with making this look like a suicide. And I was also wondering if perhaps Allison came to Radley at some point, dressed as Vivian Darkbloom with her brown wig. Because there was the scene in early season 5, I believe it was, where Eddie Lamb, the worker at Radley, he asked Aria, I can't talk today, sorry. He asks Aria if he's met her before. And for a while I thought that pointed to Aria being A, but now I'm wondering if perhaps he just was thinking of Allison, who came to check up on Bethany, you know, see what was going on, maybe taunt Bethany a little bit, because, you know, Allison feeds off of other people's suffering. And so then when this happens, Bethany decides that she is going to exact revenge on the De Laurentiis family, especially when she finds out that Jessica was sleeping with her father, and when she finds out the Jenna thing. This would cause her to hate Allison and the other girls too, because she would blame them for ruining her brother's life. Now, other reasons that I believe in this theory is because Radley Sanitarium is an anagram for Mary A. De Laurentiis, which I think kind of points to a connection between Marion Kavanaugh and the De Laurentiis family. Also, Marion told Dr. Palmer that she was no longer afraid of being judged. Perhaps she decided that she was finally going to accept Bethany as her daughter and tell everyone the truth. And Daniel Kavanaugh convinced Toby not to sue Radley because he said that things about Marion's past would be dug up. That seemed awfully strange to me because from Marion's obituary, she seems like a very normal person. She was a pediatric nurse, grew up in Rosewood, went to Hollis. You know, she didn't seem like someone who had a deep, dark secret. So perhaps Daniel convinced Toby not to sue because he didn't want people to know that Bethany was their child, who they sent away. And also Bethany's drawings. She calls Jessica a liar, there's a woman falling, and a boy being carried away from a little girl by a demon. Now, I think that demon represents Jessica, who Bethany's labeled a liar in her drawings, who's carrying away Toby from Bethany, who's chasing after them, because Bethany wants a relationship with her brother Toby, but Jessica's taken that away from her. And also, they look a lot like Toby's drawings in season 1, which Emily sees on his notebook, maybe a family talent. And when Jessica asks Bethany to call her Aunt Jessie, and Bethany goes berserk, this would definitely bother her if Jessica was actually her aunt who had done all these terrible things to her. It would definitely make Bethany very upset. And I believe that Bethany would have had worse mental problems following her mother's death. You know, without her mother there to take care of her, perhaps she went off her meds or her meds weren't working for her anymore. Alright, well, I'm almost at 15 minutes, so I'm going to cut off this video, and I'm going to post a part 2, and in there we're going to discuss that night and more reasons why I think that Bethany could be alive in Big A. So go check that out.